Guys, I have long wanted to make a video about this car, and our friends from the company Rockstar called and said, "Sergey, there is such a car, you can do a review on it." So today we have in our review Alpina B7, meet. I have been wanting to make a video about this car for a long time, and we are moving on to the part where I will tell you a little about the Alpina, the facts that I know specifically about this car. Later we will ride it, then we will go to the measurement, and then, of course, we will have a race. This whole video will be built around the race, because, as far as I know, there is not a single video on Russian language YouTube where two cars, BMW M760 Li and, of course, Alpina B7, opposed each other. Now some facts. Before us, guys, is a full-size executive class sedan, a little more than 5 meters in length. As for the engine, 608 horsepower, 800 Nm at 3,600 revolutions. The same parameters in BMW 760. I will compare them. The 760th model has 610 horsepower and 800 Nm. And one more thing. Alpina has 8 cylinders, BMW has 12. The race will be very interesting. The BMW model 760 travels 305 km per hour. This is its passport speed, and Alpina, 330. The fact is that Alpina's philosophy and ideology is not high power, but high torque, so with the S63 V8 engine with a volume of 4.4 liters, they got 800 Nm and a maximum speed of 330 km. Imagine, this is the speed of a good supercar, 330 km per hour. I think about the same speed in the latest Huracan or Audi R8. And these are sports cars that are tuned specifically for maximum speed. And here an ordinary C-Class business sedan is capable of such speed. Our car is painted in satin, matte, ashy, almost black. The wheels are 20 diameter, and you can say, "Sergey, the wheels don't look like Alpina." The Alpina model has always been famous for its multi-spoke wheels, which did not have a wheel inflation nipple. How was it possible to inflate the wheels? Here was a cap, it came off, and underneath was a nipple. The air would go through one of the spokes and inflate the tire itself. In the front we have 255, 40, R20, and in the back 295, 35, R20. As for the brakes, it's interesting that there are two. First, an interesting brake disc. It is located on an aluminum base so that the heat generated during braking is not transferred to the hub and thereby does not dry out the grease in the wheel bearings. The front brakes here are smaller than the rear. 395 mm in the front and 398 mm in the rear. But in the front, of course, the brake pad coverage area itself is much larger. Brakes from Brembo, 4-piston, big 4-piston, lightweight, by the way. They look very interesting. With the logo, of course. Alpina. What's on the back of this model? There's a flaw in the back. No car is perfect. There is a huge brake disc of 398 mm, and the coverage of the brake pad is not so great. And the biggest drawback. I'm constantly telling and reminding BMW about this. Why do you guys put a brace on the back for so much money? It's 2022nd year, it's a 19th year car, and there's a miserable little brace on the back. Yes, it's a decent size, but it's not enough, I think. At least aesthetically it looks weak. The stern of the car is just fantastic. We have a chic diode strip connecting two lights. Flashlights are dynamic, we will show you everything now, of course. They are very cool to say hello and say goodbye to you. 4 exhaust pipes in the diffuser of the rear bumper, the trademark Alpina. 4-barrel exhaust. In principle, there is nothing unusual at the back, except for the nameplate B7 and Alpina. Its own diffuser and, of course, its own spoiler. Guys, this is fantastic, right? I don't really want to say anything, just enjoy the picture. It's just a bomb. This is an incredibly cool grid. I didn't like it at first. It takes some getting used to. They are very nice. Alpina, nameplates Alpina. By the way, guys, they are made of some very thick plastic, very unusual. These are the louvers that open. They open in the regular 7 series, but the bumper is naturally original, as, in principle, are the laser optics. It's the same here as in the original BMW 7 series. If I'm wrong, please, correct me. Not everything I can know. This is, in principle, the same 7th series, slightly modified and with a changed philosophy. There is, of course, a self-locking rear differential. Its own gearbox, guys, it has its own gearbox. Because the car has to cope with such a torque. In general, any Alpina car must have a power reserve and increased reliability in order for the cars to serve their owners faithfully for a long time. For these vehicles, BMW provides a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. The company does not provide such a warranty on its cars. BMW. Alpina, specifically BMW, when you buy this car at a dealership, gives you a 3-year, unlimited mileage warranty. And what do you think the cost of the car? The owner claims that the car cost $300,000. I don't know if it's a lot or a little for such an exclusive. In Europe, of course, the price is much lower. As far as I know, it varied around €180,000, depending on the configuration, and reached €230,000. But since customs clearance of such cars in Ukraine is very expensive, I think that the price for a car could reach such figures. I open the hood and show you the heart of this car. There is something to look at, very beautiful. By the way, in the space under the hood, I have a claim to one interesting detail. You still need to be able to open such a car, slightly pulled, not fully opened. Let's go. Guys, S63 from Alpina, finalized. So, a few interesting features under the hood. First of all, BMW basically always installs batteries in the trunk for weight distribution in such high-tech cars. But in this model, it is under the hood. But I'm pretty sure there are 2 batteries in this car. Who knows? Please write your comments. Enter the vehicle's VIN? The factory VIN code is crossed out, and Alpina writes its VIN code. Such a small company, which employs about 300 employees, imagine, stuffs its VIN code. And then BMW enters this into the General Register. And this car is a derivative from BMW, from Alpina, and this code is official. What I don't like under the hood, guys. Basically, it's done pretty well. I don't mean to say it's not the most beautiful engine I've ever seen in my life. V12 from BMW. Remember the engines of the 8th and 7th series for 5.4 liters from BMW? Those motors were prettier. A lot of metal, an expensive look, everything was fantastic. Here, in principle, everything is not bad, 4+ out of 5. I didn't understand this moment. Why is there a Chinese overlay here? I really like the Alpina sign. The lettering probably could have been brighter. But this imitation intake of the 8-cylinder engine looks very cheap. I don't like it very much. By the way, it is not the only disadvantage of this car. So, according to the guys from InfoCar, all the radiators in the car are enlarged by 30 to 40%, and some even more for good heat transfer and thermal conductivity. That is, these cars do not overheat. And this once again confirms the philosophy of the company, not the maximum power of the car, but the maximum torque. Because according to the philosophy of the company, the main emphasis in these cars is on high maximum speeds and on a long ride at maximum loads. That is, cars Alpina are not circular roads. Alpina is exactly a highway. It is a long straight line, top speed, wind everywhere you can, and the arrow of the gas tank is sharply tending to the zero mark. I propose to move inside the car, and before that, let's look into the trunk and, it seems to me, we can find something interesting for ourselves there too. And before you open the trunk lid, let's move on to our heading, key. CARShow. The key is the usual shape for cars BMW these years, by the way, cover M performance. There are buttons, open, close, trunk opening, and of course, the badge Alpina. This is what the key looks like. We open the trunk and see what we have here. Guys, we're shooting one take, no preparation. So what do we have? There is a refrigerator in the back and nothing else of interest. I thought there was something interesting. The first aid kit, the cooler, the mat. I'll get the mat. There is nothing here, nothing to see. Let's sit in the salon and see what's inside. Guys, what we see inside. I will tell you now a few features that are in this car. I'm not going to tell you about the latest multimedia from BMW, you know that yourself. 8-speed gearbox and so on. In other words, a fully equipped luxury car. Go ahead. Let's stop on the most interesting. Look, there's a sign right here that says which car is yours. Our car is released 169th. Here is a cool coat of arms. It is convex and very interesting. Naturally, everything is made to order. About the seats, I think they are upholstered in Lavalina. As far as I know, Alpina sews from this leather. Of course, the emblems are stamped on the headrests. What else is interesting? Steering wheel. Guys, the steering wheel is cool. It's Alpina original, it's a little modified. The best part is that they sew it by hand. The rudder is sewn for 10 hours. One craftsman makes it. The scale of the instruments, of course, is blue. I would really like to see the same colors in the car as in my Lexus. Blue and green are the signature colors Alpina. But I didn't see the green color here, in principle, like rhombuses. If I ordered such a car, I would definitely order some green accents, green and blue, and of course, rhombuses. These are Alpina's signature colors and shapes. I think they should be here for sure. Music Bowers and Wilkins, there's also a branding on the torpedo. Guys, there's one really cool feature here. You see the mats in the front? They are not very thick, with Alpina. But the rear carpets, excuse me, all ready for the owner. They are fluffy, with a high pile. This is how the brand decided to do it. The driver drives in front, and the owner of the car drives in the back. All the chips and highlights that this model has are also found in the usual 7. As for something unusual, it is, perhaps, the lines. A lot of things are sewn by hand. This, of course, is the refinement of this particular car from Alpina. And the most important value of this model is, of course, technical improvements, because Alpina is not only beauty, but it is also a technically completely modified car. People who can afford to buy a car for €150,000, an ordinary 7 with improvements, can afford to pay $250,000 or $300,000 for an exclusive. Thank you for having such subscribers, thank you for sharing such exclusive cars with us. In principle, we have said everything about the chips and features of the car. And what to tell about the cabin? Good interior of the usual completed 7s. And by the way, the 7 you have been waiting for so long has just arrived. This M760Li is a competitor to this car. And you know, the salon is not worse there. And if you consider that there is a V12 bi-turbo engine with similar characteristics, then, in short, watch the clip about the second 7, and we go further. The 76th model, as I promised. Guys, I'm just thrilled and very excited. I suggest that we start by comparing these two cars. The grid is exactly the same. The hoods are exactly the same. The front camera is the same, but the bumpers are slightly different. Look at them. You see, there are such air intakes, but here, it seems to me, they are much more interesting. They look prettier, don't they? Laser optics, identical. Nice wheel rim. I was sure the 76th model had size 21 wheels. No such thing, 20th. Brake machines are very similar, as are the brake discs, the same as Alpina. In general, it seems to me that this is one brake disc and one brake machine. Nardo gray is a chic color, just fantastic, it looks incredible. Let's compare these models also from behind. Here too, everything is the same, there is no difference at all. That's fantastic, isn't it? Do you know where that came from? Remember V12? Remember where V12 was? Write in the comments. And now I'll tell you. Mercedes 140, V12. Look at the rear view of our two cars. Nice rear view. Cool. Elegant spoiler. The other spoiler is larger, a little smaller here. Just look at this inscription. 760, do you even imagine 760 Li? Do you even imagine V12 bi-turbo, volume 6.6. As for the bumpers, they are completely different. I like the pipes much more here, much more. The optics are just fantastic. She is the same. Honestly, I have not even seen optics more beautiful. They say that Audi S8, which will be released at the end of the 22nd or already in the 23rd year, will be simply stunning. But I really like this optics, it's fantastic. Soon we will sit in the salon, but before that we will open the hoods and compare them. Guys, the king, the truth is the king. 8 cylinders, 800 Nm, 68 horsepower. King. Tsar. Tsar. V12. Let's not say that this is the king. Let's say that this is the Hetman. Do you agree? Guys, this is Hetman. This is the top, this is the highest class. V12, 610 horsepower, 800 Nm, is the same engine from Rolls-Royce. Looks great. And now I want to show you the salon. Guys, I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I'm just looking forward to it. Cognac skin. By the way, the leather could have been any shade in an Alpina, but there it is in a light shade, and here it is cognac. Guys, the interior looks gorgeous. The cars are very similar. By the way, they have the same music. Let's look at the back row. Let me show you. It's top-notch, it's top-notch. Some would say Rolls-Royce is beyond competition. Great. Guys, I love both Rolls-Royce and Bentley. For me at the moment, for today, this is the highest class. Tomorrow, perhaps, another car will appear, better and more interesting. But it's just really cool, guys, it's incredible. Honestly, I don't even know what more you could want. The view is just fantastic. Here, even this bottle of water does not fit, Morshinskaya. We do not advertise it, it is cheap budget water. Ukraine. Guys, we have another impromptu idea here. Of course, we must measure the exhaust. Let's hear how V12 sounds. I specifically put the microphone near the exhaust pipe so that you can hear better and you can compare. Go. Not bad, not bad. And now let's listen to Alpina, and you will already say in the comments, whose sound you liked more. Alpina, let's go. I vote for Alpina. Well, of course, we already have a winner. This is our main character, this is Alpina. I was really looking forward to this moment. Usually, the engines show a little more power. Now we will ask Vlad, the owner of Upstage, how much the car will show on the dynamometer. I remind you, 608 forces and 800 moments in stock. While we are taking measurements, please write in the comments how much power the car will give out, your opinion. How do you like the car?
Fire.
No words?
Exactly.
The price of this car is about $300,000 approximately. Is it in the top 10 most expensive cars you have measured? Because I know you had some really cool cars here.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the top 10 coolest.
Here is the engine S63, 4.4 bi-turbo, the 5th generation. How much power do you think the car will put out? It has 608 horsepower and 800 Nm in stock.
Let's say 630 horsepower.
630 horsepower. It's hard to argue with you.
630 horsepower and 850 torque.
I understand. I know that you are rarely wrong, so I will stick to your guidelines and I will say that the car will produce 636 horsepower and 870 Nm.
Let's see.
How much torque do you have?
850.
850. I always overestimate a little. Guys, let's start. Do you hear static? It's the fans running, the car is cooling down. We've already taken measurements. Vlad, let's figure out who was closer. Temperature, for starters. It's almost 28 degrees, it's hot. What did we get?
632.5 horsepower, I was closer. You guessed the torque, 880 Newton meters.
We have a draw again.
Draw. 27.6 degrees as in the box. But the booth measures the temperature of the outside air as well and makes a correction.
Tuning studio, speed lab, exhaust sound power. By the way, the guys do professional exhaust, very cool downpipe, and also Xlets, or what's the correct name for it?
Cad Beck.
Cad Beck. In a word, if there are problems with the exhaust, then you should go to him. In light of current events, we don't have very good fuel right now. Sometimes we do not understand at all what is poured into the car. By the way, here was 95 gasoline, with 98 gasoline, I think the horsepower would be more. Vlad, what can you suggest for tuning a car like this?
We can add 70 horsepower and 100 Newton meters to the Alpina on stage 1.
Just changing settings?
Exactly.
Fine. How much does it cost?
800 euros.
800 euros for such an expensive car?
Yes.
Fine. Stage 2?
Stage 2, removal of catalysts. That's about another 30 horsepower plus.
I think a small percentage of customers with cars like this will come here for tuning. Because I believe that older people drive the 7th series BMW. But in general, have you ever worked with Alpina?
On stage 1, yes. On stage 2, no.
And what was that car?
I think it was a model B5.
B5. You understand how rare this is. Because to persuade the owner of Alpina to subject the car to tuning is almost unrealistic. Vlad has many years of experience. Again, this is not advertising. We are not just filming partners, we are also friends. That's why he even worked with Alpina. Be sure to contact him. We were about to leave. I even took off the microphone and we planned to go further to the shooting. But then Vlad says, "Sergey, so I had not only a car of the last generation on tuning, but also exactly the same car. And we will compare charts." On the firmware, was the same car Alpina B7 with a turbo engine 4.4 tenths.
The car showed 677 horsepower and 1040 torque. If we compare the two graphs, then the thick one is the measurements of today's car, stock. This is the power of this car, and this is the power of the car after stage 1. This is today's car torque and post-stage 1 car torque. That is, we see that after 1,500 revolutions, we have seen an increase in both torque and power. Yes, the difference in power is small at the top, but in the middle of the graph, the difference will be somewhere in the 80 to 100 horsepower.
You paid attention to the power, and I want to pay attention to the torque. The philosophy of the M series is power, and the creators Alpina focus on torque. I see that in torque the difference is 120–160 newtons. This is significant.
Yes, and at the bottom.
This suggests that up to 150 km per hour the car will accelerate very strongly, it will become much faster. Of course, at high speeds the difference will be small, but significant. So, guys, these are the moments. And such exclusive cars stop by, and not for the first time.
And for €800.
800 euros, just like changing the filters, right?
More likely.
Let's go further. The motors are running. What does this mean? Race. One, two, three. One, two, three. Guys, we are far behind at the start, then the cars go approximately the same. Now we will try again. Phew. Emotions are overflowing. Both cars are very powerful. 1, 2, 3. Oh good. Oh how good. We close. What do you guys think of this? This is powerful. Alpina is catching up. Alpina is catching up. We overtook. Wow. This is what we gave. One, two, three. We're ahead. The 760th model lost a little. We'll have one more round to go. 1, 2, 3. The 760th model is struggling. Alpina goes smoothly, and the 760th model is catching up. The cars have leveled off, and now we're starting to overtake. We overtake, yes. I'm shocked. They are so powerful. They go almost side by side. Almost close. For some reason I am sure that the higher the speed, the faster Alpina will go. 1, 2, 3. Alpina pulls ahead, the 760th model is right behind us. Doesn't catch up. Doesn't catch up. Strongly. I did not expect. Honestly, I didn't expect. I think we need to go to gas station. This is without me. You will kill these cars, boys, honestly.
It was great. Real racing.
Do not regret?
No, I'm not sorry. I got a lot of emotions. There were some doubts and worries until the very end. After all, racing the 76th model with the Alpina is a tough case.
So our competitions, our crazy races, have come to an end. It is fantastic. Emotions are overflowing. The cars are almost the same. This is just unreal. V12 against V8, 608 forces from Alpina and 610 forces from BMW, 800 Nm for both. And the cars just go head to head. But there is one small caveat. At high speed Alpina does overtake a little, it takes literally a millimeter, but still slowly begins to outpace the 760 model. Up to 200 km per hour, the cars go almost the same, and after 200 km per hour, Alpina begins to get ahead. That's all. Serdjio was with you. Go.